With the open alpha for Splitgate starting soon, we can now tell you all about our time with the preview of the content available. And while I absolutely dragged my team down with some shocking performances, I can't deny it was a vast improvement on the first playtest and showcases a strong foundation for the game's full release later this year. After a presentation from the studio head and a quick Q&A session, we got a handful of hours to play together in modes that rotated in 15-minute increments. On offer in the session, we played with classic things like Team Deathmatch, along with newer modes like Domination, Firecracker, and a large-scale multi-team. While Splitgate 2 offers a spin on more traditional modes, as it is thanks to the portals and fast-paced gunplay, the multi-team mode is truly something to make the game stand out. Think of it as a spin on Halo's big team battle, but with 3 teams of 8 of players on massive maps across various game modes. We only got to play one map, but even across several rounds, there was still plenty of new discoveries around each corner and even whole sections I never got to. The highlight in this was the domination mode. Here, 4 key locations are up for capture and the 3 teams battle it out to hold as many as possible to get up to 100 points. Again, it's nothing new at its core, but the tri-team nature and the sheer scale of the maps made it a lot of fun to play. This was apparently the first map they designed, and apparently the worst of the bunch as well, so I look forward to seeing what else they bring to the table. Returning players will be familiar with the Splitgate USB, but for those uninitiated, think Halo Cross Portal. This is a fast-paced arena shooter, but with genuine, honest-to-goodness portals that all players can place down on specific surfaces in each map. What this leads to is utter carnage as players dip in and out of portals, being able to get across the maps in the blink of an eye. And while we can only see through our own portals, everyone can move and shoot through anyone's open portals at any time. Sometimes a jump into the unknown is just what we need to get a few kills or captures. For me, the highlight of this short session was the sheer variety on offer. There was no shortage of free-to-play games, and particularly free-to-play shooters out there vying for our attention. A lot of them follow the same track though, with gruff military dudes and dudettes and an overly serious tone. The bright, futuristic aesthetic of Splitgate 2 is a nice change of scenery, and the fast arena combat is great fun to play. Adding to that a variety of factions. Before each match, players get to choose from one of 3, each with their own loadouts and perks. With 4 players, or 8 in the multi-team mode per team, some repetition is going to happen. Indeed, the entire squad could be the same character if they like. Where 1047 encourages variety though is in the passive abilities, with a full spectrum of factions granting the best possible result. We even get a little indicator to show what faction and perk we're missing out on the load on the screen, and can easily change between classes both before and during a match. I'm not totally sold on the weapon feel at this time though. The SMGs and assault rifle types were the easiest to use, but I found it hard to really gauge recoil and accuracy as easily as I'd like. I'll caveat that with the fact that I played terribly in this session, but I'm also not entirely sure it was 100% my fault. I know, a bad workman and all that, but I couldn't settle on one gun that felt quite right. I'm hoping a bit more time with open alpha might let me experiment a bit easier and find something to settle on. It could also be that I'm traditionally a controller player. This was an option in the session, but most players are on keyboard and mouse, so I wanted to try and get to grips with that more. Plus, when I did switch the controller, I did even worse. According to 1047, they're going to have a loose version of skill-based matchmaking and input parity. This will mean that games will be varied in skill levels, with some closer than others. One thing that was lamented among some of the attendees were that other games have too strong a version of skill-based matchmaking, leading to some very closely fought games at the expense of the occasional tougher matches. Personally, I'm not so sure where I sit on this debate. There was a lot of support in the Q&A for less skill-based matchmaking, but once more players are on Splitgate 2, I look forward to seeing how it all fares. 3 hours and rapid fire round mode changes is barely enough time to really dive into the nuances of the game still in alpha development, but for what I got to play was still a lot of fun. There are definitely tweaks that could be made to balance in weapons and feel, and I'm keen to see more of the multi-team maps and how they fare, but I'm absolutely excited to jump back in, drop some portals and hopefully not get my arse handed to me too much.